evening. Roll call declaration of conflicts of interest, please.
Councilmember Abram. Hearing none. Councilmember Bixel.
Hearing none.
Vice Mayor Moniz. Hearing none. Councilmember Phillips.
Hearing none.
Mayor Bublak.
Hearing none. Thank you for that. Approval of agenda as posted or amended. There are, item 5B will be removed.
So moved.
We have a motion? And, I'm sorry. Second. I'm sorry. Cut you off. We have a motion and a second. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Abram. Yes. Councilmember Bixel.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moniz.
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips.
Yes.
Mayor Bublak.
Yes. Passes 5-0. All right. Presentation by Director Fisher. This is good news, right?
It is.
All right, let's do it.
It's on here. Good evening, Mayor Bublak, council members, members of the public. Tonight's presentation, we're going to provide an update on the Columbia Pool Improvement Project. Being joined by Randall. Come on up. He's our senior civil engineer. He's worked on this project since the beginning. Sorry, Randall Jones. Since the agenda is posted, we try to get, and he'll go over these slides in a minute, we try to get as good a pictures as we could. But there's a lot has changed since we posted the agenda. It's actually moving along really quickly, and we're really excited about it. We are in the final stages of work. They're moving very quickly. We're seeing how these last pieces have really rapidly transformed the site following completion of all the major milestones that, and we've had some stumbling blocks, and we'll get into those. While some of this information is going to be a recap, it was really intended to, to address some of the questions and concerns that we've heard in the past council meetings. So I want to start with a little bit of just like a recap on some of the project delays. We experienced some significant delays. Some of them were weather impacts. We had the building delivery was delayed, and really working in a small workspace prevented us from actually working simultaneously on multiple trades and multiple projects. And there are also some design-related issues that we had to work through. Some of those, it stemmed from just the evolving design at the time when it was bid. If any of them were missed or unclear, they were quickly resolved. So looking at the overall coordination complexity, the project really involved a real tight coordination across all the pool buildings, electrical, the concrete, grading, all of the underground utilities. The site space was really small. Once you dug a big hole in there wasn't a whole bunch of places to work. So everyone was standing on top of it. We processed about 90 RFIs, requests for information, meaning somebody saw something that didn't look quite right and they just wanted to clarify that, and we had to move through those. And when we do those, we want to address them as quickly as possible to avoid any delays. So it really is just a coordinated effort between the city staff, the contractor, and the design engineer. Change orders were approved as quickly as we possibly could. We really wanted to keep the schedule moving along. And we had, some collaboration with the building department that all the field changes we made were code compliant. So they some of those things, you're not making major changes, but you're also changing the way that the building works. Some of the other big milestones that we've accomplished is the mechanical building has been finished. It's really the linchpin of the whole operation. So everything that we're going to do in there, and you'll see a picture of it tonight, revolves around that building. That building alone accounted for 22 of the RFIs. So it's a really small building with a lot inside of it. So it packed a pretty considerable punch as we worked through. The restroom building was delayed. I think we touched on that a little bit. And that really kind of delayed a whole bunch of other progress at that point in time because we were waiting on those. The staff worked as hard as they could to work around some of those issues and not be as delayed as we potentially could have been. Despite all those delays, we've hit all of the major milestones at this point. All 4 buildings are installed. All the concrete work is complete. All the furnishings are installed, the shade structures, the benches, the showers, the tables, the fountains, and the lighting. All of the pool equipment has been installed, the boilers, the sand filters, chemicals, pumps, and pump stations. We're really looking at the final push to complete this. TAD provided power for us on March 17th. The pre-plaster inspections have been scheduled. The fence work will be finished by March 28th. We have some painting left to do in the mechanical building and the trash enclosures. That'll be completed by April 4th. The electrical will all be complete by April 4th as well. We have plaster scheduled for April 7th, pending the weather. I think we see some weather coming next week, so we're watching it very closely. The contractor needs about 2 weeks after the plastering, so they're gonna, as soon as they plaster, they'll fill the pool. They'll begin the startup process, which means they'll balance all the chemicals and whatnot. Landscaping has begun. We expect that to be complete by April 18th. So all of the bushes went in today. All of the trees have been planted. We're waiting on some sod that was supposed to have been today, but we got a little bit delayed because of the weather last week. City staff intends to take over the pool maintenance by April 25th. The remaining unknowns, the PG&E to install a gas line in meter by May 2nd. That was a pretty significant delay recently that the city staff and PG&E staff have worked really hard to overcome. It was a very challenging engineering solution based on that, and I think PG&E gave a little bit, and we came to an agreement, and so hopefully we can get that done by the time. As soon as they connect that gas, we'll be able to start the boiler, and we'll be able to get the pool ready to go. However, if it is delayed, it won't stop us from filling the pool, it won't stop us from plastering anything. It's really the staff and the contractors work really hard and place the gas line where PG&E is going to put their meter, so it's all on them at this point. We're just waiting for them to install that meter. We talk a little bit about budget and contingency. Council approved a $350,000 contingency. It was about 6.07 based on the total contract price. So far, we spent about $287,648 of that. It's usually cost 22 different change orders. The staff expects to land around 310,000 of that, so really about $40,000 under budget on the contingency. And the project's still projected to be about 100 to 150,000 under the original budget, just depending on a few remaining items. And I'll leave it to Randall to talk a little bit about some of the slides. I didn't want to cut in on his thunder. He's got some good news for you at the end.
Tell us what you know, Randall.
Good evening. All right, thank you. Yeah, I have a few slides that I'm going to go through and hit some of the milestones that Chris just mentioned. As you see, this is just a picture of the previous pool, very outdated. This was when it was closed. What did I do?
And then it wasn't.
Thank you.
Black hole.
Okay, there we go. Technical difficulties. Yeah, so picture on the left here is the contractor digging the pool. You can see it, like Chris mentioned, once the pool started getting dug, it got very small out there. Picture on the right is how it stands today. All the tiles in, all the lighting, all the stairs, all the handrails. It's just ready for plaster on April 7th. So weather permitting, that's our target right now. Here we go. As you approach from the sidewalk, you're going to have two entrances or two pathways that will merge at the entrance gate here. There'll be a new flagpole. You can kind of see the lighting there. A new Columbia Pool and Splash Pad sign will approach from the sidewalk. All new fencing right here that you're seeing as well. This is just a picture of some of the other stuff that's out there. The site utilities. The site has landscape, potable, a separate water service just to fill the pool, fire hydrant for safety. This is the TID transformer that they just set for us. A new alley, or a new trash enclosure, so people can't be digging in the trash, that kind of stuff. Here you'll see our new 2 outdoor shower stations. Those are new from the old ones. They were inside the locker room, so these are now outside like that. Here's one of our 3 shade structures and 2 of our 8 picnic benches that we'll have. You can kind of see in the background, you can kind of see the trees that are planted, ready for sod next week hopefully, or later this week. Here's our new concessions building. This will, where people can buy prepackaged food. They'll enter right here. That'll be the window that they can pay to enter the facility. On the other side, they'll buy their snacks. In there's also a area for staff to, take their breaks. There's a bathroom in there for them and a staff office. And then you see the shade structure that's covering it. That's where people can, hang out on these benches while they're waiting for their snacks or eat their snacks. Yeah. Here's our storage building. This will just kind of store miscellaneous pool equipment that the staff lifeguards will use for their recreation. One of two ADA drinking fountains, another bench. You can see a TID sign, thankful to them that they donated some money towards this project. Here is the chemical and mechanical building that Chris mentioned. Again, this is like the brains of the operation. It houses everything. The boiler, the sand filters, the pH and acid chemical, the pump. There's a little workman station in there where staff can test all the water quality, make sure it's all balanced. And yeah, this is a very, very important building. You can see it right now. It's slated, I think, by April 4th to be painted to match the other buildings as well. So everything out there will match, including the trash enclosure. Here are our 7 restroom facilities. 3 or 4 of them are ADA, and then 3 non. You can also hear the steps to enter into the pool. Handrails will assist. The 4 of the restrooms also act as like locker rooms. There's little benches where you can change and get ready to enter into the pool. Here's just a couple more views of the pool. The one on the right is the ADA ramp entrance, where you can enter with if you're in a wheelchair or if you just want to walk down a slower ramp instead of the steps. The view on the left is just kind of in the shallow end, looking out. Here's some just more views of the pool. Again, 2 of the shade structures in the back with the benches and sitting benches and the other ADA compliant drinking fountain. Back there will be, I think, 5 shade trees and grass for people to hang out and hang out in the grass and relax into the shade. Here's just a couple more views of the pool. Again, the ramp entrance. So the pool has 2 ADA entrances, the ramp being one and a chairlift being the second one. The handrails just are secondary ADA entrances that just help people get into the pool. View on the right is just another good aerial view of the deep end. That's where you can jump in. Again, no lap swimming or nothing like that, but you can kind of see there's a big area that's 3 foot in depth. That's kind of replacing the old kiddie pool. If you remember that area, that was in the partition wall area. So we have kind of mimicked that as best we could. And then, yeah. Last slide here. So thank you all for supporting us through this complex and very important project for the community. We'd like you all to please join us for a grand opening on May 17th.
You gonna be there?
Of course.
Are you first to jump in?
Any questions for
Yeah.
Director Fisher or Randall?
Just one, Director Fisher, I know the gas line with PG&E, that's the PG&E issue that held us up October, November, December, same.
Yeah, it is. It was, like I said, it was a very complicated engineering solution. And at the end of it, we worked really hard and we agreed to make a compromise. And PG&E has helped us, and they're gonna compromise and help us get that pool started up. So it's a good solution for us.
Thank you. Thank you for all your hard work. It's magical to see this actually come to life. I can't thank you all enough for everything you've done.
We look forward to seeing you there at the grand opening.
Exciting. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. All right, this is the time set aside for members of the public to directly address the city council on any item of interest to the public that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council, and to address the council on any item on tonight's agenda. If you do speak regarding an item on the agenda, we'll ask you to defer it to later. There are 3-minute timers here and over here, and I have a few blue cards, so we will start with the library. Ms. Mendez.
Good evening. I am Karina Mendoza, and I am the librarian at the Turlock Library. Let's see, exciting news. Modesto, if you weren't aware, is currently closed for a remodel project. So all of their collection has been moved to Salida, and it is open for checkout. So you can request the items there, and then they'll be delivered to Turlock just like regular. The Newman Library is also currently closed for a little refresh project. So we're all, libraries countywide are starting to look a little nice. So just like ours library. With that, our Link Plus system is back up and running. If you're unfamiliar with Link Plus, it is part of our interlibrary loan system that we have here in California. So if there's ever an item that we don't have, we can request it from one of our other California libraries. There's also some Nevada libraries that participate as well, along with a few universities. So if there's a very specific book that we don't have, we can get it that way. And then also, just a reminder, we do have a program called the Zip Books, Zip like a zipper. You can request a book to purchase. We use grant funds for it, so we will purchase it if it's not in our system and it meets our criteria. And we'll purchase it from Amazon. We'll ship it to your house, so you get it pretty much next day. It checks out like a book for 6 weeks, so you get an extra 3 weeks for that, and then you just return it to a library staff member at the front desk, and we'll take it off your account. And super simple. It's a good way to kind of add books to the system that we wouldn't normally purchase. So, and that way you guys have an input on our collection development. And that is everything that is happening at, oh, almost forgot, most important thing right now. You can still register your kids that are between the ages of 4 to 12 for our cover to cover program. That is our most popular program other than summer reading. If you're unfamiliar, for every 5 books that they read, they can get a free cheeseburger or hamburger from In-N-Out. So they have until that first weekend of April to register. You can backdate it. If you need help with backdating it, let us know. It's all through the Bean Stack app. I always tell people it's a pile of beans. That's the easiest way to remember it. And then also Canes over in Ceres very generously donated a bunch of reader bookmarks, so kids can, it's an honor system. We give them a bookmark, ask for it at the front desk, and then get a free kids meal at Canes over in Ceres. So that's all I have, and thank you for shopping locally, because every dollar you spend here in Turlock helps us out, so we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Milt?
Good evening, council staff and Turlock citizens. Milt Treeweiler. It's hard to understand, but there are people here in Stanislaus County who are scheming to destroy the future for our children and our descendants. Their plan is to build more houses to bring in Bay Area people to live in Stanislaus County. This farmland in the MID and TID irrigation district of Stanislaus County is the best farmland in the world. Once you build houses on this farmland, you will never be able to grow food on it again. This would be irresponsible, and our children and descendants would have to suffer for the bad decisions we would be making today. We're educated people. We don't need to make bad decisions. There's not 1 acre of farmland in some entire states and even countries as good as a farmland in the proposed Riverwalk project area near Riverbank, or as the farmland north of Taylor Road here in Turlock, or as the farmland all around Modesto, Ceres, Houston, and Salida. Stanislaus County's farmland can grow food for hundreds of years because we have the best soil in the world, because TID and MID has given us all the water we need for hundreds of years, and we have the climate that supports growth of food. Total U.S. farmland is steadily declining as farms become subdivisions. The combination of population growth and farmland loss due to the fallowing of land in the San Joaquin Valley has resulted in an alarming decline in the amount of farmland in the Central Valley. I don't think some people know how good our farmland is. Please, do the right thing. It's everyone's responsibility to preserve this farmland so our children and descendants can have affordable food to eat and can live happy lives. We are not a bedroom community for the Bay Area. We are the food basket for our country. We must be good stewards and conservationists for our children and descendants, since they cannot do this for themselves. Now is the time to save our farmland. It's worth the fight. This is something we all have to put our effort behind. This is a very important issue for Stanislaus County. They're going to be fallowing 900,000 acres south of Turlock all the way to Bakersfield. They don't have water. They pumped out the water. They don't have it. We will have water for hundreds of years here because of Don Pedro Dam, the greater Don Pedro Dam. And that's why it is so important that we preserve our farmland. We build up and not out. We build, and that's exactly what our citizens have told us they want in Turlock. They want us to build high-rise apartment complexes, condominiums, and townhouses. Thank you.
Lori?
So it's been a while since I've been here. There's some new faces up here, but that's a good thing that I haven't been here in a while. So, good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, public. Lori Smith, downtown business owner and Turlock Historical Society Museum board member. So you're going to get a little history lesson. Over 100 years ago, there was a beautiful two-story brick building that was on the corner of Golden State and Main Street, facing Main Street, in the approximate location where the John Mitchell statue is now. That building was torn down when it was discovered that John Mitchell left the property to the city for a park for the public to enjoy. It is anything but that today. I do want to thank Chief Hedden and the staff for their hard work. They have done an amazing job. They work tirelessly, and their work hasn't gone unnoticed. Things have been better. However, the murder that occurred last week shows that it's still far from perfect. Yes, it could have happened anywhere, but it didn't. It happened in Central Park in downtown Turlock. It made me ill to see it on the Sacramento news stations. With that one incident, the downtown reputation is now tarnished again in the public's eye. The city of Turlock is the owner of this property. The chamber staff or the others who visit shouldn't have to be subjected to what goes on there. Nudity, drugs, all kinds of things. It's gone on way too long. I don't know what the answers are. Maybe security, privatization, they've come to mind. But we need to work together, and I'd love to be a part of that to carry out the vision of John Mitchell and return the park to Turlock citizens. Thank you.
Diane?
Hello. I'm here to address for the senior center. And I am a senior there, and I've been there for the last couple of years, and we're having a lot of issues, and seems like they're not getting a whole lot of help. The first issue is we have Turlock Senior Center is set up on the front of is Cahill, but literally you go in the back in the parking between the library and us to get in. Well, the entrance getting in is flooded out every time. There's no walking space. Even when you pull your car into park when there's rain, you step in this much water. There's 3 people that have fallen, and 1 went to the hospital. I know that apparently we signed a thing saying the city's not responsible for if anything happens like that, but just not acceptable, because we're talking seniors, people that are way older than I am, and I'm old. So if we can get, I know it's a project, but it's something, they've got to be able to do something, even if they were able to get pumps out there to pump the water while, I don't know how that works or anything, but it's really, really dangerous, and it has deterred a lot of people that are members coming in because of that, because you either step in it or you don't, and it'll go at least to your ankles. So I just wanted to address that. The other thing is we have no handicap doors in the building at all. There's a lot of people that come in, especially for lunch or what have you, that are in wheelchairs, or they're with canes, and it's just really rough for them to open the doors and stuff. I know they said something about, well, that was something that was done way back when. Well, it's time to get up to date on that. So if we could get some handicap doors, at least one where we enter, would be a great help. That one door also says exit sign. If we could get an entrance sign on there, and signs maybe coming from the front of the building to where they go in. I moved out here 2 years ago, and I went to the senior center for the first time, and I walked around the whole building trying to get in, and because all the doors are locked. and I even tried the exit door. And somebody seen me inside and brought me in, so I was very grateful for that. But that would be a really, really big help if we could at least give direction, saying this is the entrance of the senior center. Is that
Thank
it?
you. Yeah,
Oh, shit.
thank you. Kelly?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me here, first and foremost. My name is Kelly Quayle, for those of you that don't know me. I sent an email today to some of the staff here, and a little bit, I was born and raised in Turlock. I'm a little concerned about the public safety measures and the incident that occurred at Central Park. Me being a veteran, United States Army veteran, as most of you know, that is really heart-wrenching. This is my hometown. I'm really concerned about public safety measures, and I'm asking the council to consider implementation of a district-wide public safety initiative, which would mean that we would have a representative from each district, ensure that we have a community policing group that's in charge of that individual district. So I request that from all the council today. Also, the respect and preservation of a veteran's memorial. First and foremost, especially what occurred, was completely disrespectful to my fellow brothers and sisters in uniform. This being my hometown, it's also a disrespect to me. On June 2024, on my birthday last year, an incident occurred. If most of you guys know, I was kicked out of a press conference along with another service member. One person apologized throughout that. And I say thank you to Chief Hedden, as always. He was the only one that showed respect to me that day. That being said, his work has gone unnoticed. However, I want to work together to collectively create a program so we can all understand that whatever we have in place currently is not working. So however I can collectively work with you guys to ensure that that happens, I would be more than happy to sit down for a conversation. I've also done my due diligence to ensure that I go out and get bids for a fence that people have requested. By no means I'm trying to take control of the situation. I'm trying to help build a better community for Turlock and the Turlock business owners who had to see a dead body out there for hours, which is super unfortunate. So I hope that you guys take that into consideration, and thank you so much for having me up here today.
Anyone who did not fill out a form? Come on up, John, then Ron. His hand was faster.
Welcome, council. I just wanted to say a quick word. Can I give a shameless plug for United Samaritans? Okay,
Well, unless it's on the item on the agenda, then you can't.
Well, I hope it isn't. I don't know what the agenda is,
Okay.
so whatever.
Go ahead.
But I've volunteered over there for twice a week for the last 9 months, and I can proudly say that if I ever had to get a job at one of the subway places, that I can countlessly tell them I've made thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and more thousands of sandwiches. Now, the reason I like United Samaritans is that they give food, just a simple lunch. It's not anything great. It's not anything spectacular, but they go to senior citizens centers. God, can't even say that. And all over the county. Patterson, Ceres, Hillmar. I don't know about Hillmar, but and of course Turlock. They go to apartment complexes, and they serve everybody. But a lot of seniors, a lot of disabled people, and a lot of poor people. But they do that, and they do it on a tight budget. And everything else like that, and the people do pretty good. I think they're celebrating their 30th anniversary this year, 30th, 31st, or something like that. So it's a good organization. It isn't going to change the world or anything else like that, but it's just a small part of what I've done over the last few decades, just making food boxes or anything like that. What we got going on in this country is, to me, sad, that we have more and more and more people that have to have this. I wish they would fix the problem so they wouldn't have to do it. But as long as it's there, that we need volunteers, they need money, and all that kind of good stuff. And I just had one comment about the pool. I didn't get it asked. And last time I heard something last year was that they were going to put in solar panels or something like that. Now, I don't know if that is going to happen, not going to happen, too expensive. My suggestion was not to put solar panels, but to put in solar hot water, because that costs a lot of money to heat that pool and everything like that. So that's just my comment on that.
Ron?
I guess we had a contest for the fastest draw.
You gotta work on it.
And I lost.
You lost.
Yeah, so, good evening. I have a question about the transit center, the chargers that, electrical chargers that they were going to upgrade. With the change in administration, I know that the federal government is no longer doing the charging at federal buildings. I wonder if that is going to impact the funding for the chargers at the transit center. So I have a question about that. Had some questions and comments about the pool. First, I'm glad it's done. Okay, I think it's been since the summer of 2018 was the last time they were able to use it. I think it was 2018. So it's been a long time, yeah. The parking issue is an issue that people have raised before, so I'll mention that. I wonder what the final cost is. I remember when Odell Engineering did their design, they came up with a cost of $4.45 million for the total project. And then in my emails with Director Schultz, that raised to $6 million, and then to $7.2 million, and then to $9 million. So I'm wondering what the final cost is. Also wonder about Odell Engineering. I mean, they've been involved in this project since, what, 2018 at least, I think, when they first were engaged to do this. So, I mean, they've known that facility. It's not like they're ignorant of that facility. From what I can tell, you know, the cost estimate was dramatically underestimated. And it seems like there were a lot of issues, change orders, the PG&E issue, schedule-wise in terms of not being able to have a whole bunch of contractors there, you know, once the pool was excavated. I would think that would be something that they would know, okay? So I kind of have my questions about whether we should engage with that company again in the future. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else that didn't fill it out before we close? Okay, we will close public comment and move on. The consent calendar, item G. George and H. Henry will be pulled unless you have others. Correct?
Motion to approve is amended.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Abram? Yes. Councilmember Vixel? Vice Mayor Moniz?
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips? Yes. Mayor Bublak?
Yes, passes with 5-0. All right, item G is, Milt asked for us to pull this off, and Director Dami, if you'd come up, please. Just go over the TA real quick, please, and then we'll open it. Is that what you were asking for last time?
Yeah, just so we're all on the same page. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Staff, Public. My name is Jessie Dami with the City of Turlock HR Department, and the item before you is approving the tentative agreement revising the MOU between the City of Turlock and Turlock Firefighters Local 2434, covering the period July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2027, and appropriating $453,271 in fiscal year 24-25. And to go over the tentative agreement, as mentioned, it's July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2027. As of July 1st, 2024, 4.5% cost of living adjustment. July 1st, 2025, a 3.5% cost of living adjustment. And then July 1st, 2026, will be an additional 3.5 cost of living adjustment. In addition, there is a fitness incentive that is going to change from a $100 flat amount to a 2.5% of base salary per month. And a one-time off-schedule payment in the amount of $2,500 to each member of the Turlock Firefighters Local 2434. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the director? Okay, we'll open it to the public. Milt, you asked this to be pulled, go ahead.
Yes, it's so good to see this. Our fire department's our firefighters have been waiting for this for a very long time. And it's fine to see this, it's finally here, it's finally happening, they're finally getting their raise. You know, we need more open government, or if we don't understand how come these things are taking so long. I mean, I understand there are questions that have to be answered. I understand that that is the way things happen here, but I don't think it's the way it should be. There's not a lot of transparency here in our city, and that's bad. And I really believe that we need to work on that as best we can. And I'm so thankful that our firefighters are with us. It's wonderful to have our firefighters here in Turlock and not working for Modesto and coming to Turlock to do the firefighting. There are firefighters. They have an interest. It's their city. They love this place and they love doing this for us. And I see my firefighters, both sides of my house. There have been calls on both sides for the fire department. They're there, they're doing their job, and it's wonderful to see that. And again, I'm very happy for them and very happy that we have them. I know the history behind this, but I'm not going to bring up any history. I just know that this is something that's finally taken care of, something that should have been taken care of a long time ago, but it's done. And I'm very thankful of that, and I welcome them and want to see them here forever. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Okay, we'll close the public comment. Can you speak to how we're not public with the negotiations process?
Yes, negotiations is a confidential process, and as far as the transparency piece of it, what we do is we schedule meetings with our labor groups, have our meetings, and at closed session, bring it back to council as far as the status of the negotiation process.
And then when you say we meet, it's the electeds or somebody else?
No, the city of Turlock, so myself and our lead labor rep from Andrew Aller, Atkinson, Andelson, and Romo.
And if we were to us sit here and speak out about what was happening progressively, what could happen?
We would be violating our rules and regulations as far as negotiations is negotiations. It's a confidential process.
Thank you. What's the will?
Move to approve 7G.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Abram?
Yes.
Councilmember Vixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moniz?
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, thank you. It passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Item H, I'm pulling, and I asked for it to be pulled last time too as well. So my questions were last time, what took so long regarding the RMS? Why didn't we go out for an RFQ or RFP? We knew we needed it. So if it's time sensitive, why didn't it say that in here regarding this is sole source? And then it also, in the contract, it specifically talked initially about that it was going to sell our information, our residents' information. So when I asked for more detail, what we got back from the company was that they would not be giving any HEPA information out, which is obvious. So I'm still not comfortable that we're not going to provide your information, residents' information, to the public for any reason, and that makes me really nervous. So if somebody could speak to that, Chief Hunter or whomever, yeah, sure.
Good evening. Kane Packwood, Division Chief with the Turlock Fire Department. As the subject matter expert on First Due and our RMIs, I've had multiple conversations with our rep and with their legal counsel. The First Due service provider, they just hold our data. They don't migrate the data. They don't go in and use that data. The language, and it's a very good question, Mayor. The statement that is in there basically gives them the ability to share the data that we say that they can share. And where that comes into play is the power of this platform is that the city of Turlock can put our maps, can put our hydrants, can put our data on a map, and then our mutual aid responders coming in, we can share that data through that platform so they can see where those hydrants are, where those FDCs are, and where all that specific pre-fire plan that we've set out, so they have that data. In order for them to be able to share that, they have to make sure that, number one, there's not a royalty, there's not any rules against any of that, so that is what specifically, what that language is that you're referring to. Regarding the PHI and the PII, the personal health information and the personal identifiable information, there is laws specific, not only HIPAA, but there's a California Commerce Act that specifically says that that's not allowed. We've had that conversation many times. They said that they don't own our data, and that is clearly outlined in the last sentence, I think in section 2, that says that data is clearly owned by the city of Turlock. So it's been addressed multiple times, but it's an excellent question, and I was down here before you today and I have complete confidence that they will not be migrating your data, they will not be selling your data in any way, shape, or form.
Is there another format that we could give the information to the other providers near us regarding where our hydrants are? Is this the only format that needs to be that way? My biggest concern is that they didn't speak to what they weren't gonna sell, other than they just, yeah, of course, we're not gonna give out your HEPA. I mean, I get that. That's an explanation that everybody has. But when they can't address anything else, it kind of left a really wonky feeling. And for the sake of our residents, if we're giving out anything, they're going to think we're giving everything. And that really concerns me.
Yeah, fair enough. And I appreciate the questions. There is other ways to accomplish that. We've been trying for years to get on the same page. We've used a program through ArcGIS called Field Maps, where we update. It's very labor intensive. It requires multiple ITs to get together. Then it also requires the device to get to that server where that information is. So right now, our current RMS is a Windows-based because it sits on that server. The only way that you can get to that information is using a Windows-based platform. The power of this being in a cloud-based environment, that met the highest level of security is called FedRAMP. It's the highest level of federal security, which then trickles down into local government. They use that as a standard. The power of that is that it's device agnostic. So you can use an Apple device, you can use an Android device, so while we're out there and about, out in our engines, we can have iPads. If iPads become something that is no longer tolerable in the Central Valley because of the heat, we can switch to an Android. We don't have that capability right now. And we've been, like I said, with the maps, we've been trying to do this for years. It is problematic when our mutual aid responders respond in. They're kind of flying blind. They have Google Maps, which are getting better, but specific data like where is the FDC? Like where am I going to attach my engine to that building so that I can perform for you? That information is just simply not on those Google Maps. So there are ways. It is not as it won't flow as nice, and it's very labor intensive. And quite honestly, we've been trying to get there, and we haven't been able to get there yet.
And the RFQ, we didn't go out for one a bit?
So a lot of the time-sensitive portion of this, we did start investigating and had a lot of discussion of did it need to go out to RFP? Could we use the piggyback? Could we use the cooperative personnel purchasing? Essentially, once we start looking and start talking about this, every fire department in Stanislaus County is moving to this. So to go to another product would make us the ones that we would not be able to communicate back clearly and live. So a case in point, if we're going to have our downtown Christmas parade, we can build a layer in this mapping program that we can always turn on. Every year we turn on our downtown Christmas parade layer, and we can always see that. Anybody coming into the area is going to see what that map looks like, where our EMS is staged, where our areas of safe refuge are, and that's just one example. If we're out there and we're looking at where our transient population is, because they're transient, so they move around, we can put a layer on that and says, here's where that transient population is. Here's an area that if we have a wildfire or a grass fire that's coming over there, we know that we have people, we need to get them moved out of the way. That's live data that can only happen if we're on this same platform. So we could use like the field maps, but you go out, you identify it, you work through some forms, you send it to your IT. IT then has to get it uploaded, and it goes through a whole system, and it's like a secondary device. So once we start looking at that and realize that everybody is going to that platform, it kind of became like, what are we really chasing at that to go to a different platform? We did research the piggyback clause, looked significantly at Santa Monica's contract. They had very extensive vetting through their IT to really get in and dig deep to answer some of these questions, and they probably do it much more articulately than I can do today. And that's where I really started to feel comfortable. But it's a 120-page contract to read through, but it's very in-depth. And so going through all that, we looked back at their sole source letter, looked at our partners. What are our partners doing and how are they getting this through the process to make sure that it's transparent and open and out. And they were using the sole source letter because this is the only company out here that currently offers under one suite all of these capabilities. And there's other capabilities that I haven't spoken to, and I don't want to take up all of your time, but they're the only ones that are currently using the AI component for dictation. So we can come back and you do your report by speaking into the microphone. It cleans up your report and then extracts that data. So you're not going in and trying to do drop-down menus, because data is important. It was one of the areas where a couple of years ago, where we had the Community Advisory Commission came in, and we didn't have the ability to give them the information that they wanted. So utilizing this, when they go in and they dictate into the microphone, it's actually going to pull out the key data, fill out the report for them, so they just go back in and fill it out. And that's one of many components. I can answer those, but I'll turn the mic back over to you.
I'm just trying to peruse again, thinking I missed it, but it doesn't describe the sole source. And I just, for the sake of the public to understand that each of our directors has to go through, and if we're gonna do something that is nobody else, somebody else could provide, but we're gonna say it's a sole source for some, we need to make sure we're all on the same page, so.
So for this purchase, that is the direction we're using the sole source agreement.
Say it, but okay.
That was probably an error on my part on how I.
Mr. Moreno,
Absolutely.
got back up.
So, sole source determination, right? Anybody can give you a formal letter of what they do, and it's beautiful and it's all great. There's key factors that the procurement department and purchase department go through. So it's not just them receiving a letter, we're vetting the sole source letter determination too as well. In this sense, he's already hit it. They're the only individual or entity that actually has a complete package of what they're looking for. Other entities have pieces of these modules. They can do similar activities, but nobody has the full complete package. When you start to part it out, you come into communication issues between the modules or the communications. So it's not really just about everybody's using it. It's more of what are we getting for it. When we look at the sole source determination, we look for the factors of what they're doing. We're looking for factors, is there some kind of copyright issue where they can only do it? But in this factor was really because they had the complete package and the only entity that actually can do that. And they've given us a formal letter to certify that.
Okay.
And finance has
Just missed it
reviewed
in
that.
there. I tried to read all of it, but I missed the sole source part, so I'm just curious. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions also? Mr. Pitsalakis, can we change the contract to say that we will provide only the layover of the specific information? Because I just want to make sure we don't give up anything else because we didn't mention it. If they need to know where the hydrants are and where something else is, that we can give that specific authority, but no other authority in the contract?
I don't know enough about how it actually works to, I think, be able to answer that with any confidence.
Okay.
I think, so.
Okay, thank you. We'll open it to the public. Anybody wishing to ask, to speak? Yes, Milt.
Thank you for the presentation, and thank you, Isaac, for the presentation you gave. It appears to me this is a necessity. It's something we need. It's not a danger to our personnel, and it's cost effective. So I see it as a perfect thing that we should have. So I recommend that we approve this and use it. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Ron?
I have to admit, I didn't read the agenda item, so yeah, I know, I'm a bad boy. So please forgive my ignorance. Letting other agencies know where the fire hydrants are, so on and so forth, that's all very logical, okay? I think that's good. The thing that caught my attention was the potential for HIPAA information or things like that. And you also said when the firefighters, maybe I didn't understand this, when they're, voicing their report, automatically takes information, puts it into the form, so on and so forth. I'm wondering why any of our personal information would be in this database to begin with. I mean, maybe I don't understand, but, do the reports put down, we were called to this particular address and, like in my case, I had a stroke, okay? Is all that information put down? I just kind of wonder, that kind of seemed to go under the radar a little bit. The mayor mentioned it. It just kind of seems to be mysterious to me. I just don't understand why that information would be in a database and then why that would be made available potentially to anybody. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, we will close public comment.
Mayor, can I add something? Just, do you mind?
Sure.
Okay, because I'm trying to be helpful, but the way the contract works, we provide them what's called in the contract location data, which is more about structures and, physical things like that. So that's why I was a little surprised by the HIPAA thing, because I don't know how that came in, because when you read the contract, it looks like it's a record management system about where we're giving location data. Now, the company enhances the data that we get with what they call community data, which is things they can acquire from other third parties. It could be public agencies or companies. And then they create this database that then must be the database used for the records management system. And that's called location data plus community data equals data. And so that's where, there are some assurances on who owns what, but once it's mixed up, it's kind of, that's the bucket it's in. And I will say that we did have samples from Modesto and I forget if it was Salida or Stanislaus Consolidated that entered into similar contracts. We don't have particularly any it's one of those contracts we don't have a lot of negotiating power to tweak is all, or to change.
So for the sake of the questions regarding what is RMS for the public, what does that mean? How does this work?
So RMS stands for Records Management System. It is a complete accountability for all information that we track. So like currently, if we go out on to a structure fire, we will talk who was the owner of the residence, who was the renters involved, if it's a vehicle fire, who was that, and that does get tracked and it does get housed right now in our current RMS. So nothing is really changing there, but that data is not mined or they don't go in and look at that. There are certain requirements for like EMS calls. There is a standard called NEMSIS that requires us to grab certain information. There is right now INFERS for fire calls. That's changing to NERIS. When NERIS comes into play, there's a significant change in the records that we are required to ask and required to get for every call. We grab that data and then we report out. So monthly we report to INFERS, monthly we report to NEMSIS for everything that we're doing. But it's more than just the calls that we go on. It's everything from our assets and inventory. This particular program here will allow us to utilize modern technology such as QR codes. So we can put a QR code when we're doing an inspection on our SCBAs instead of having to manually write down what that SCBA is, the air that we were on our backs. We can hit it with a QR code. It's going to pull up that information. Our turnouts, we're required to wash our turnouts after every, you're gonna want us to wash our turnouts after every structure fire. But we wash them after every structure fire, or when we send them in for repairs, we can hit the QR code that comes from the company that we buy, so Globe or Morning Pride or whatever that, they already provide that QR. This system tracks that as well. Our hoses, everything and anything that's within the fire department will be housed inside of this system so that we can start putting some correlations on how many times did we use an 1 3/4 hose? How many times did that go out? So as we sit down and we're doing our budgeting, we can say, are we using that piece of equipment? Are we getting our value out of it? We want to be able to quantify that. And currently, right now, with not only the RMS that we currently have, but many of the other ones that are out there, like Image Trend that we looked at. Image Trend's given us a lot of hassles on the EPCR side, so they weren't a great partner as we sat down and looked at them. We looked at ESO, they're going out of business, or they're moving their platforms. So we looked at this and said, what is a one-stop, all things, including scheduling for our personnel? Our process right now for scheduling is very labor intensive. I mean, it takes about a half day for an engine company to sit down and schedule out the overtime for the month. This system has a program that will help us do that automatically. So it's all-inclusive program.
So if, hypothetically, a house, 100 Almond Avenue, they have a fire, so the information goes in there. Can the company then contact them and sell them something because, hey, you had a fire, so we want to make sure that you have all these things taken care of? Can they use that information that way? Because it doesn't say anything except they're not going to give, like, medical information.
I think that would fall under the California consumer law. There's another one that's very similar to,
Okay.
and I've read it once or twice, and I would be remiss if I tried to cite it verbatim. But your personal identifiable information is also not, it's not legal for us to put that out there in the course, in the course of doing business.
Right.
So,
But the company can say, I'm accumulating this information, and we're saying, when we asked the specific question that you asked them, all they said was we were not going to share the HEPA stuff, right? So just the medical information, which gives me a little bit of a pause, right? Because it's like, well, then what are you saying that you're going to share? I know what you want it for, and I get that. I think AI and all that stuff can help you do your job better. But the third party is the one that I'm most worried about. Where's the comfort zone here?
Right. All great questions. I've had that same dialogue with them. They've assured me, they've written back in email form that that's not part of their practice. Their practice is to sell a highly secure RMS because they want more clients. And they are the fastest growing. They have the whole state of Virginia. So my heart believes that if they were selling that data and they violated that public trust, it would tank their platform. But that's a decision. I don't want to cut you off. Councilman has a question.
Is this RMS used for patient care data?
We do have an EPCR platform that also has additional securities on there, yes.
Okay. Do I understand, obviously, fire responds to a call, you turn the patient over to the ambulance company, AMR in our instance here. AMR then turns that patient over to the hospital. There's 3 areas right there that information has been shared.
Correct.
All covered under HIPAA, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, with regard to, so there's nothing that could be gleaned by this company from something like that. Now, I don't know from a fire, if you have a fire in your house, what information is legal for you all to share or to glean or whatever? I guess you're mandated to keep certain records and or reasons why there was a fire, investigate a fire, all of that kind of thing, correct?
So we do get requests. We have one client that does request monthly on how the location of fires. That was vetted years ago. It may need to be vetted again. And we do give out where those structure fires were. We give no additional data because that's public record as it is. It's broadcasted over the radio system of that there's a structure fire here. So, it's an item of public record. We just, once a month, when they call, we do say, but no owner data, no, here's where the fire was. It's, and we try to keep it as, we want your trust as well. We want to make sure that we're not violating that at any way, shape, or form.
It's not you I'm worried about.
Fair enough.
Questions, comments, concerns? What's the will?
Yeah, so I know a lot of times what we feel in our hearts, and we all mean well, and what people fire back in an email is not what's written in a contract, and it's not what the city of Turlock can legally bind these folks over to if they took our residents' private information and did something with it. Why can't they put language in the contract to that effect? Because I'm with the mayor on this. The answer back about, oh, we would never violate HIPAA, nobody wants to violate HIPAA. You have to answer to the federal government when you do that. HIPAA's a given. But I'm talking about all the other stuff and the third-party stuff. Why can't we get language in the contract with these folks to protect our residents and their privacy?
I don't write contracts. I'm a firefighter. I mean, you are the experts there. I would fall back on the city attorney and say.
You're very lucky.
Chief Hunter, did you have something, sir?
I think he does.
He's gonna have standing behind you.
Yeah. Mayor, members of the council, and members of the public. A lot of the questions that you bring for us are all the questions that you brought for us are very valid questions. And the information that we collect currently and what we'll be collecting in the future is not going to change. It's just a matter of where that information is going. Right now, it lives in one records management system, SOL, and I want to make sure that we answer that question. That was one of the first questions. We found out at the beginning of this year that our current records management system was going to be end-of-lifing their system come December of this coming year. And so, fortunately, leading up to this, we were already looking for a program to manage our staffing, and had been in previous discussions with this same company, and that's what drew this to this. Initially, our plan was to use it as a staffing platform, as this letter came to be, we recognized that we had a significant need to find a company to partner with that can provide this service as well as all the other services that we need. Anytime we use a tool or we request to partner with a company that provides a service, the goal of that is to be able to do it efficiently, effectively, and ensure that our personnel are ready to respond to the next emergency. A firefighter sitting in front of a computer is performing a very valuable job for the community, but we need to make sure that they're responding to the next call for service, and that's what this does. To answer your question directly, if there's a desire to get language specific in the contract, that can be done very simply. This company, their job is simply to provide a data source that can get the fire department the information and records that it needs quickly and efficiently. The value of partnering with this company is so that when we're starting our day, when I type in and say I'm going to be on engine 31 today, that record is then populated on all of our EMS reports, all of our fire reports, all of our scheduling. It integrates together seamlessly. And so that's the value that this brings. This company, First Due, their job is to provide data management. Their job is not to sell the public's data, the company's data, and it would be very easy to get language indicating that from the company.
Mr. Petrolakis.
Well, yeah, I think that, if the council wants to continue the meeting, it's pretty easy language, just be some sort of representation and warranty that they're not misusing the data. Just for the record, I feel like I'll read the language, right? So as you heard, subject to any third-party license restrictions, which we would identify in writing, right? To the customer grants to locality media a perpetual, non-exclusive, worldwide, royalty-free right and license to process, use, and disclose the data furnished to locality media by the customer, that's us. And then this is the phrase, in connection with the development, operation, and performance of locality media's business, including the service they provide to us. So as the chief said, you know, if they're only in the business of doing this, they probably would tank their reputation, right? If they're selling data out of the back end. So we here at Turlock, we can provide them some language and solve this problem for all their future customers, so they don't have to have, you know, these kind of discussions, you know? Because I do think it's a valid concern, but, you know, that's it. You know,
Okay, so
it's easy enough to handle.
If
you know?
we were to vote for it to pass with the assertion that we trust that our city attorney can put the appropriate information into the contract with them, or do we need to wait and then do it?
Yeah, now you're asking me a hard question.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see, we didn't put here in a form, did we put? You know, often we'll put in the agenda in a form approved by the city attorney that gives me some flexibility afterwards. I guess we can take it for a whirl if the motion includes, you know, that you're approving the contract subject to language agreed to by the city attorney and, you know, the company based on the discussion I heard today, then, you know, we'll see if that, you know, we'll give that a try.
Okay, so I'm going to motion to approve 7H with the amendment that it will be a form approved by the city attorney with the additional language based on the information the council has provided tonight.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Specialakis, does that appease you?
That'll work.
Then will you turn off your mic, please?
Okay.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Appease is a high bar for me, so, but it'll work.
Thank you.
Councilmember Abram? Yes. Councilmember Bixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moniz?
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes. 5-0. Thank you for your patience,
Thank you.
gentlemen. Just want to make sure our people are taken care of. All right, final readings, we have none. A public hearing, 9A is, oh, look at that, Captain Rodriguez is up.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of City Council, as well as public in attendance today. What you have before you today is a request to review and approve the 2024 Military Equipment Annual Report, Military Equipment Policy, along with the attached equipment list. Additionally, is a request to renew the Turlock Municipal Code Sections 4-19-101 through 109. Just as a reminder on why I'm here today, back in 21, Assembly Bill 481 was passed, which resulted in Government Code Section 7070 through 7075 being created. These sections ultimately require each law enforcement agency to obtain approval from a governing body via adoption of a military use policy by ordinance. It also requires law enforcement to seek approval for continued use of the defined military equipment. The Turlock Police Department met this requirement initially of AB 481 back on April 26, 2022. This was when Turlock Municipal Code 4-19-101 through 109 was created. In this municipal code section lives a hyperlink to the Turlock Police Department military equipment policy and our inventory list. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have at this time.
Questions for the captain?
Yes, so you already kind of said it, but just to put a finer point on it, this comes up every year, right? We have to do this every year. And I think it's always confusing when this comes up in the paper or something that says the Turlock Police Department has military equipment. So can you give us like the really short version of what falls under this and what is not military equipment so we all know what we're talking about?
Absolutely. So standard issued department equipment such as our tasers, our shotguns, our handguns are all standard issued equipment. So under Code 7071, it outlines 15 separate items, but just to be very brief about it, so what is considered military equipment would be rescue vehicles, would be tear gas, pepper balls, flashbangs, firearms, or anything over a caliber of 50. And so that's the most abridged version of it, but basically that's what that is.
And many of those items are less lethal forms of, equipment.
Yes.
But a phone could be considered an assault with a deadly weapon, but you don't put that on there.
That is correct.
Okay, just curious. Any other questions? All right, we'll open it to the public. Anyone wishing to speak? All right, we'll close public comment.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We call the roll, please.
Councilmember Abram?
Yes.
Councilmember Bixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moniz?
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, passes 5-0. Thank you, Captain.
Thank you.
All right, item 10A. Whoops. Ms. Borrego's up. All right.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, citizens, and my colleagues from the city. I am here to represent the recommendation of approval for a letter of support for financial contribution of a letter of support and $1 for the We Care in support of the grant written and received by We Care. A little bit more?
Sorry.
Is that better? Yes. All right. Do I need to repeat any of that? Are we okay? All right. So let me just tell you a little bit about this grant. PLHA redirected $1.3 million in grants for shelters. We Care applied and received $267,000 for operating expenses. They're not increasing their footprint. There's no new services. This was one-time funding. Why are we being asked for a letter of support and $1? That's something that started happening with block grants, so that when we qualify for the same funding, we could have applied for that funding as a city. We did not. But because We Care did, and we're in that same area, we're showing up by our letter of support that we're supporting their efforts for their dollars, for their operating. And they ask for, the state asks for $1 contribution in support of that. It's NOVA that requires the $1 and the letter. That's part of just standard grant procedures for them. This means that the city is not supporting any other efforts. We're not required to do anything else with this grant beyond the letter of support and the $1. And I will say again, this is for operating expenses and for us to say that we are not in competition for those dollars. The staff recommended support of this letter and $1, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Yes. So you said PLHA, and we've talked about PLHA in the context of the money that the city of Turlock gets, and I think we all went over this sometime in January. We, I think, unanimously decided how we were going to break up our portion of that state money. This is money that is coming from the state through the county for all different types of entities in different cities to apply for, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and We Care has applied and turned in all their documentation and technically awarded all but for $1 assigned letter in our resolution tonight, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll open to the public. We'll start with We Care, right? Does that make most sense?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For those of you that do not know me, I'm Corey Mai, the Director of Operations at We Care. I come before you today regarding your support for PLHA funding that we would receive from the state. The state wants to see that we are supported mutually by our local government and state government. I applied for and received a grant that is half of the We Care yearly budget, and that is huge. As all of you know, funding is very scarce and federal funding is very uncertain. I am here requesting that you donate $1 of PLHA funds that the city received, as well as a letter of your support. I know there is so much negative opinion around homelessness in Turlock, and I am here to assure you that we are all on the same team. I was born here, raised here, and I want nothing more than to restore Turlock to a better and safer place to live. There is no such thing as a typical homeless person, but I can promise you that they are not all the same. Since opening for our 23rd season on July 15th of 2024, we have served 189 homeless individuals, and that is an unduplicated number. We have provided 10,821 shelter beds. We are currently operating at a 95.6% utilization rate. We Care has housed 3 individuals from our shelter and 2 from Turlock Gospel Mission through our rapid rehousing program. We have housed 2 single moms with children and a young family of 3 in our new affordable housing units on Lambert. We have a total of 10 affordable housing units and 7 permanent supportive housing units. We have also supported in housing 2 veterans through Veteran Services and 2 guests through BHRS. We've been really trying to switch our focus to helping individuals prepare for employment and seek jobs, helping them to gain long-term stability. Our new kitchen has given them the opportunity to help out and have responsibility at the shelter. Our goal is to provide not only a safe place off the streets, but a place where we can offer them our support with housing and life skills to those individuals who truly want our help. We currently provide telecare with a free office to utilize for mental health and substance abuse evaluations. We have a contract with La Familia for a substance abuse counselor and mental health professional. He holds weekly groups where guests are taught valuable life skills such as conflict resolution, healthy boundaries, and it provides them with a safe place to talk about the trauma that led to where they are today. Each week, over 20 men attend that meeting. 64 men have used the services that have been provided by La Familia. We are still in collaboration with the shower shuttle that brings the laundry shuttle on Tuesdays and shower shuttle on Wednesdays. This provides resources to those in the encampments. It allows us to educate them on what other resources we have. We've brought back our community luncheon where all members of the community can come on the last Monday of the month for a free lunch and have access to various resources. This week, I've seen questions on social media regarding our transparency, and I want to take this opportunity to invite everyone from the community to come meet with me, have a tour, ask questions, and let me show you the facts. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
My name is Daniel Miller, and I was born and raised in West Turlock many, many years ago. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of the We Care program. The We Care program is a vital partner in Turlock to provide transitional and emergency shelter and support services to assist homeless individuals to become more self-sufficient, which we heard all about at the moment. I wholeheartedly support the City Council to offer a strong letter of support for the We Care program. The grant application being addressed here to support operational expenses is money well spent to provide services for the chronically homeless, and disabilities. But here are some facts. The average rent in Turlock is $2,250 per month, which represents 34% of the Turlock median monthly gross income. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and the National League of Cities, that figure exceeds the criterion for affordable housing of 30%. In reality, many in Turlock live from paycheck to paycheck and are only one missed paycheck away from being on the streets. My nephew is one of them. Sorry. I've had the privilege of being part of a group that cooks and serves dinners on a monthly basis to the men at the emergency shelter. I have to say that it is very gratifying to experience the feeding of my soul by the sincere gratitude from the men as they eat perhaps their only meal of the day. It serves as a reminder, but for the grace of God, go I. I highly recommend to everyone here in this room and those watching on YouTube to volunteer or donate to the We Care program. As of today, there are 6 nights in April when no one has signed up to provide dinners. Wouldn't it be wonderful for the Turlock City Council and the staff of City Hall to join the over 30 churches, civic organizations, individual families, and local businesses who also happen to be voters in volunteering to cook and serve meals at the We Care kitchen to fill those open slots. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Juan Perez, and I'm the clinical director with La Familia. La Familia is our DBA, but we're the Alliance of Community Wellness. Just to let you know, our organization has been around since the mid-'70s. We started off in the Bay Area, and we've been fortunate and blessed to be able to extend services throughout the whole Central Valley. We have contracts with, just to let you know, with Madera County, Merced County, Stanislaus County, and we're working with the contract with San Joaquin County to be able to provide behavioral health services. But I'm here to say that one of our best partners has been the We Care program. Since we started providing services here about 5 years ago, one of our first partners has been the We Care program, and we've been able to provide staff to provide all sorts of different services, whether it's mental health services, substance abuse services, case management services, And so we've been here, we want to continue supporting We Care. We want to add more staff through our ECM, Enhanced Care Management Program, and that's for folks who are on Medi-Cal and are high utilizers of medical services, but sometimes there's those gaps where they don't get the services that they need, and so we want to be able to add case managers to help out the clients there to make sure that they're getting all their medical appointments, vision, dental, to help them in that area, while we have our case manager there also provide services, individual case management groups, whatever services that we can provide. And so I respectfully request that the council members support this cause with the letter of support and with the contribution. Thank you.
Anyone else? Ron?
So I'm a little confused. The staff report had these words in it. A financial contribution of $1 is required from the respective city in order for the shelter to apply for the PLAH funds. If I understood correctly, what you said, they've already applied, they've already been granted the funds. So that's not really the way I interpreted the staff report, okay? I would say that, the programs of the rapid rehousing, the job training, the mental health counseling, the drug counseling, all those things are good things. Those are all things that actually most of us believe should be the focus of that facility. But let's not kid ourselves. They do harm the community in general. If they didn't, then We Care wouldn't have requested to have a fence be put around their day center. And the city manager wouldn't have put up all the fencing on your dining area and your alcoves, okay? Now, the private businesses and people can't do that. I think what we need, one of the things that we need is more transparency. And by transparency, I don't mean, how many meals were fed, how many people were housed, but going beyond that in terms of if you housed someone, how long did they stay in the housing? Were they able to get job training to be able to, shall we say, return to society? Or did they drop out and go back to the streets? I think, we should, how many people, the mental health counseling, the drug counseling, how many people were in those programs? How many of them actually, got off of drugs and rejoined society? What we're looking for is results. What we feel is compassionate is to help people, not enable them to continue to live a lifestyle that will result in their death, their early death, but to be able to get the help that they need so that they can deal with their issues and rejoin society, or depending upon their condition, into supportive, permanent supportive housing or something like that. So I would urge you to put something into the agreement for that. Thank you.
Milt?
Yes, when I look at this, it reminds me of something we just did for Covenant Village, where they needed a loan for a bond for $180 million. And we helped them out. They were able to use this room so they could facilitate their bond request and could get the money that they need for their facility. And this is basically a similar situation here. And you're not going to find a more compassionate or more comparing shelter or aid for our underprivileged and our homeless people than you will at We Care. They are the best. And I'm saying that because I've seen it and I know that's the truth, and I know that I've even talked to people on the streets when I will do my walking to the post office, and they always compliment We Care. I've heard complaints about the other facility, and that's all I'm going to say. I've never heard a complaint from the homeless that I've talked to about We Care. This is a service we need. If we didn't have this service, we would have more homeless people walking the streets of Turlock. It's this lack of empathy and lack of concern for people who have issues. They have issues. They have PTSD issues. They have drug issues. They have all kinds of issues. And this is the very thing and the best thing we can have here in Turlock. They have housing. They've helped with the housing. I remember when City Manager Wasden was one of the dedications of one of the buildings where they have 4 homes there for people who need this service. $1 so that they can get their $272,000 or whatever it is. And if you look at that report in the agenda, you don't request anyone else to give a report like that. That is an excellent report. They're giving you all the finances of what is happening there. I haven't seen anything like that before from any of the other facilities around here who do similar work like this. $1, we're helping our fellow human beings. And I don't care if they have PTSD or whether they have drug issues, whether they're alcoholics, they need help. And this is just a way of helping them. And it's something we want to support here in Turlock for our fellow human beings and for the welfare of our city. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we will close the public comment. Dr. Borrego, speaking to the PLHA requirement that was pointed out, do you have any further information required before they apply? That's a county.
I'm going to defer to
Sure, come on up, sir.
some of the stuff I have, they have to receive it within 60 days of receiving funding.
Okay.
But
Well, I just want to clear up some of the things that were said before. As far as the, first of all, mayor, council members, the grant was previously applied for and agreed upon by the county, pending the $1. And it is not Turlock's funds. These are state funds. They're distributed through the county. So basically, the dollar is basically showing support that Turlock City recognizes We Care as an entity and can provide these services. The housing people permanently, that is the ultimate goal. It's one of the primary goals of We Care. But it's not as simple as just going building a bunch of units and putting them in. You have to, some of these people need a lot of help before that in their situations and everything. And we don't, quite frankly, don't have the housing to house all these people permanently. So what we provide, what We Care provides is nightly shelter for men. And going back to the previous gentleman who talked about volunteering, that is how people are fed. The majority of the nights in the year, and I'd say well over 90% of the evenings, are staffed and the food provided by church organizations, non-profit organizations, student organizations, and family personal volunteers. So there is a great community. This community provides a lot of services that the city can't provide. We've got great first responders. We've got great city employees that take care of the roads and everything else. But how do you help this large population that are in situations that they, in a lot of cases, they didn't make for themselves? And I think we need to be compassionate about that. And there's a good cadre of people in this city that appreciate and provide that volunteerism for that spirit. And all we're asking, $1.
Can you speak to the fact that the money had to be requested in advance or something?
No, they just said that the dollar had to be,
Well-
the city had to show some support financially, which is $1. That's all we're asking for. Actually, the PLF money should be provided. My personal opinion is you should be using that to help out more. I mean, I looked at the situation last year. Last time I came here was to talk about the day shelter, and I won't get into a lot of detail, but as I went through the summer and through the winter and saw people on the street during the daytime and thought, these people could have been helped, they could have got counseling, they could have got training, they could have been, there's a lot of services that were being provided that these people could have had that they were getting at that day center. And I think there was, just some miscommunications on things. I think we missed a real opportunity in this city. So please don't miss it here. Thank you.
Can I add something about the discussion of the timing here?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and close the public comment one more time. Go ahead.
Okay, so I asked for and read through the NOFA that came from the county, and, it does say in order for the shelter to apply for PLHA funds, they need to have, this letter of support and the minimum financial contribution. And, we, Turlock and Riverbank and Modesto are the only places that get our own PLHA funds, and we all decided months ago that we were going to allocate our PLHA funds in a way that there was no dollar to be had in the eligible category for city staff to go ahead and do this anyway. If we had set aside $1 to say that shelter services, we wouldn't have to be doing this because we would have that funding already set aside. But I think that PLHA is new to us, and the rules are different depending on each funding source and whoever the funds are coming from. So it says apply, but then item 3. I don't know how to say that properly. A certified resolution authorizing awarded PLHA funding to the proposed shelter activity to be submitted to the county within 60 days of the shelter being awarded by Stanislaus County. So that's what we're doing tonight, is giving them all of the final checks and boxes, because $1 and a letter of support is the least we can do. And I think that I've heard over the 2 years that I've been here, there's some consensus over we want to help the people who want to be helped, and the people who are showing up to We Care and choosing to seek shelter and group, counseling and bettering their situation. Those are those people who are trying to seek help and are not sleeping in our parks. And so I think this is the very least we can do.
Question for...
Yes, Ms. Sue, do you know why whoever filled out the application for We Care did not address the negative impacts mitigation?
I don't know that. We really got involved with providing a letter as a partner in the community in support of the grant that was going to the one time. So we didn't go through the report.
I have a question, maybe direct toward We Care. Just, do you all keep a record of how many volunteer people and/or volunteer hours that the community does? Can you give an approximate number? I mean, I'm sorry, yeah. I mean, I guess what I'm asking, what I'm acknowledging, if you've got 30 or more churches that are bringing people, you've got families, and I know lots of people that have done it and do it on a regular basis. I think by us not providing this is a disservice to the folks that are beating the bush every day trying to help, and I would definitely support it.
So I'll be the problem here. It's not you guys, it's the county. The taxpayers of Turlock, California pay taxes for public safety, for roads, for sewer, for water. The county gets money for health care, mental health, housing issues, all of that. They get it from the state, they get it from the feds. We don't. So they give us, hey, we're going to put in, $250,000 into We Care, and that's going to help them for that 8 hours. Well, okay. So what about the other 16 hours? Where's the county to say, here, we're going to put in a full-time 24-hour bathroom so people can come in and out, so that there isn't us incurring the bigger problem because they can only be there for that short period of time? It would be nice for the county to come to us and say, hey, we're going to do this, not just send it to us. How can we help you guys? Would that be a better way to do it? I've never in 6 years had them come to me and ask me what I want. They've told me what we're going to get, and this is another tell. And it's not a pissing match. It's we have our areas we're supposed to take care of, and this is not our area. And it's not about the dollar. It's about what about the other 16 hours that we're looking at? How do we take care of our city the rest of the time? Okay, we spent $1, but we don't solve any problem. You guys are helping in your little bit of time, but the rest of the time is lost to us trying to incur the offset of it. So for me, I'm very adamant that the county needs to come back and tell us how they're going to solve the other 2/3 of the time. As well, I would say we're putting money in for La Familia in the mobile health. We send out like a couple times a month. We're doing things like that anyway. We are giving money to adults to be taking care of their family member before they pass at their homes, which is not something we should be putting money into. We're doing as much as we can, but this is where the county needs to step up, in my personal opinion. Yes.
So, Ms. Braille, I know the public sees this as, oh, it's a letter and $1. I don't see it that way. I have a complete different purview. It's $1. That's called contract consideration in the legal community. Courts don't look into the adequacy of considerations when they look at contracts that bind people over, especially a municipality like the city of Turlock. The other issue I have is the negative impacts mitigation in the application was not addressed. The county can totally approve that. The county should have come to us when We Care went to do this application and ask us what we needed. And after it's not that we don't support We Care. We want We Care to be successful because I believe they're doing very important work over there. But after what the county did to Turlock on Alamo and 1617 Colorado Avenue, I have to scrutinize everything with a microscope, and this is one of those things. There's more here than a letter and $1. There has to be. So I think some things need to be cleaned up.
I can't argue with you on your history and whatnot. What I know is I confirmed that there is no further commitment from the city. So that's the only piece I
Or
can
the
speak
county?
to for you. What's that?
No other further commitment by the county as well?
No, from us.
Right, but do you know if the county, anybody know if the county has intentions to help us with? I mean, I'm happy to like hold it over and have the county come and tell us they can pay for a 24-hour toilets or something. That would be really helpful.
Or cleanup or security.
Right, any of the above, but that would be the best.
The negative implications.
Councilmember?
Yes, I'd just like to counter the idea that, nobody's coming to help us to deal with whatever happens for the rest of the time, because we do get our own PLHA funds, and we could have used those funds in a way to deal with the impacts of homelessness, and we all chose not to reallocate those to rehabs and housing and things like that. So, I mean, that's kind of the crux of why we're here. We get these funds, the county gets these funds, the county is saying from their board they want to support shelters and the work of shelters. We have chosen not to, and so, we had that opportunity, we did it, we used PLHA funds for a navigation center that we only allowed to operate for less than a year. And so, if some of you guys want to reopen the conversation of how we're going to use our PLHA funds differently and to address some of the negative impacts, I am totally on board for that. But, this idea of the other, the 8 hours versus the 16 hours, if a nonprofit cannot operate without this funding, then we have 24 hours of problem.
Let us not forget that one of the speakers actually talked about there, but for the grace of God, go I, their one paycheck from being homeless. Isn't that what we decided to put our money into, to help those that have barely a roof above them? That we have left them neglected for this long, and a lot of them are seniors. So we chose to put that there because we know that the county has money to help other areas. Not put a gun to our head and go, you have to support this too. Well, you do it.
Mayor, I agree with you that homelessness is not just shelters. We need to help people with housing. There is a whole host of solutions, and it's an all of the above kind of answer. But, the county is funding this, and all we have to do is say that we actually support it being here because we know that it would be a disservice to our community if it was not here. If these people, they're not going to disappear, the people who are using We Care are not going to disappear, and the problems that come when, you know, people have no place to go is only going to get worse. So I am really concerned that if this does not pass tonight, that we are asking for more problems in our community.
Well, I will just say that my vote won't be for anything other than to either say no, or for us to say, let's table it and get county at the table to address some problems that are existing that they need to help with.
Then I would ask you, what do you want the county to come do? Because they put out a NOFA. They said that this is the funding source that they have. It's not even actually the county money. It's money that's coming from the state from a $75 recording fee that's on properties that is funneling through the county and through cities like us. So, you know, what else do you want to see that would help?
Well, I made abundantly clear that we, first and foremost, I'd love to have a 24-hour toilet, but if not that, let's talk about them paying for the street crew to clean up during the day or something down here. There's some things that they can offer us, and yes, they do have money in other pots for this specific thing, no pun intended. So all I'm saying is that conversation needs to be had. It shouldn't be We Care sitting here having to hear us. It should be the county saying, hey, how can we help you, Turlock? That would be a wonderful dialogue. Mr. Petulakis.
You know what, I'm going to take a shot here. What I'm hearing is a lot of discontent with the county of Stanislaus and none with We Care. And so I think there's time left on the 60 days process, or are we at the end of it, or the?
So in the letters I have, it says awarded up to within 60 days of the award. So the. I remember correctly, it's the end of April. Okay. Which would be?
Is the deadline?
Corey?
Okay. So when was it awarded?
You know what, I mean, obviously, they're up against a time issue. This is something that has been a problem for our city for countless number of years. I think we could pass this, and over the next year, because it's gonna come up again, come up with some dialogue with the county to, you know, say they need to put up in areas that can help us, and I'm sure we're not the only city that is feeling that way. I feel like right now, we've got a gun to We Care's head because we're in a piss and match with the county. And I don't think that's fair to the volunteers of our community. I don't think it's fair to We Care. And I don't, you know, I mean, it's like Councilmember Abrams, you know, without them, we've got 24 hours a day, not just 16.
Let us not forget that there's victims beyond that. We have businesses here,
Absolutely.
right? So I'm not gonna single out We Care's only victim. I think there's a huge communication problem, and we need to be accountable to our taxpayer, our businesses, We Care, county, everybody should be at the dialogue, and so that's where I'm at. I don't know what you guys wanna do.
Well, I'll offer up. I mean, I'm not confident we know what the deadline is, so that makes it really hard.
Corey? April 28th.
Okay,
So we have 2 more meetings.
So Dr. Borrego, can you get the county back to the table?
I will certainly
Who are
make
they?
a call. Now, I, you know, new to the city council meetings, we did not apply for a grant during this period. I mean, we could have done that. We did not apply for a grant. So we can apply for other grants. We can sure reach out to the county, but I just wanted to be clear that the county brought this money, state money, to shelters in the area. And it wasn't that we weren't awarded, we weren't at the table for this. We could sure be at the table in other ways.
So, and I hear what's going on, and I don't want to see We Care suffer. I agree with my colleagues, but I think before, we do have time. I'm not going to put the Turlock taxpayers on the hook for this, the way it's written. And I think we can bring the county back in and clean this up so that everybody can win.
Is there a motion?
can we motion to table it until the first meeting in April, or do we need the second meeting in April?
Until further date, or so, depending on what the county, when they, I know, like, they're out of town or something right now?
I don't want to leave them in limbo.
Sure.
So let's set it for the first meeting so that they don't get stuck in limbo any longer than they have to be. People need to move.
Well, I have another question. What exactly are we asking the county for then? I mean, if it's this, if we've got, I mean, this is not something that happens in a 5-minute meeting or a 10-minute meeting or 10, 20-minute meetings, in my opinion. I think that, anytime you've got bureaucracies talking with bureaucracies, a lot gets missed, a lot of time gets wasted, not to mention, time and energy. So what are we gonna ask for?
So I'll tell you right now, there's 3 things: negative impacts mitigation.
Okay.
We do need to address the restroom issue. We do need to address the downtown cleanup issue. In fact, I believe Helping Hands, Liz, is a provider who's readily available and not being utilized. And there's a security issue. There's 3 things right there that the county can come. They have the funding for it. It could have been asked for in the application for the funds. And I think at a minimum, we need to have a conversation with them about it.
Do you want to make a motion?
Well, I'll move to table this until the April 8th. Thank
Make
you.
it, move it to continue it to.
And to continue it?
No,
Continue it to the 8th?
Just use the verb continue and I'm happy.
I move to continue this item until April the 8th.
Second.
Was that the proper verbiage? You good? You happy?
No.
I
Honestly,
moved,
probably both would have worked, but
Okay.
I'm just.
so I move to whatever language George needs to make this happen again in April the 8th.
Now, that's a motion.
Good Lord. Okay, I guess call the roll, please.
Councilmember Abram?
Yes.
Councilmember Bixel?
What am I voting for? Yes.
Vice Mayor Moniz?
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes. It passes 5-0 to go to the 8th of, or I guess we're not supposed to say a date. We'll be back. We'll get in contact with you. Thank you, Dr. Borrego. All right, item B, Mr. Moreno?
Item B.
You don't have that? It's the finance.
10B, sorry.
10B.
Agenda's wonky. Yeah, I got it. I'm there, present.
Doing roll call again?
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and council members. The item I have before you is the presentation and acceptance of the financial statements for the fiscal year 22-23. We will give a brief overview of what the financials look like. The financial statements can have multiple components. It's just not the city financial statements. We have the Public Financing Authority, a TDA audit, different documents that go along with the full packet that get addressed for whether it's state, federal, or even local. So to go ahead and give a general overview of what the information looks like, we'll bring up Eric with Brown & Armstrong, who is our current auditor. Eric?
Good evening. It's my pleasure to present the city's 2023 audit results here. I would like to thank the city accounting and financial reporting staff for their hard work and support. Please allow me to briefly explain our audit scope and the audit process here. We performed the audit for the city's financial statements, internal controls over financial reporting, as well as compliance for federal grants for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023. We also audited the city's financial statements of the TDA fund, Public Finance Authority, Abandoned Vehicle Abatement Program, and Stanislaus Regional Water Authority for the fiscal year 2023. Our scope of audit includes inquiry, confirmation, substantive testing, and analytic procedures. The following areas are the most significant areas we focused on during our audit: cash and investments, receivables and revenue, capital assets, accounts payable, accrued liabilities, and expenditures, long-term debt, pension and OPEB liabilities, budget compliance. Also, we performed testing relating to certain fraud areas. Our audit testing resulted in one audit finding that we consider to be a material weakness. All the 8 prior findings were resolved, and corrective action plans were implemented during this audit period. As a result of the audit, we issued the following audit reports, independent audit reports, report over the city's financial statements, which we issued an unmodified opinion or clean opinion. We also issued a report on the city's internal controls over financial reporting and compliance and other matters, in which we issued a modified opinion with one material weakness finding on internal controls over financial reporting. This finding is for improper revenue recognition relating to American Rescue Plan Act funding. 2.6 million was improperly reported as revenue before the construction projects was completed. So the revenue was not meeting the eligibility requirement. So we also performed, issued a report for federal compliance, or so-called a single audit report, so which we also granted with an modified opinion or clean opinion. Last, I have some required communications with the City Council. During the fiscal year 2023, the city adopted Government Accounting Standard Board Statements Number 91, Conduit Debt Obligation, number 94, Public-Private and Public-Public Partnerships, and Availability Payment Arrangements. Also, Statement Number 96, Subscription-Based Information Technology Arrangements, and GASB Number 99, Omnibus 2022, during this fiscal year. The financial statements disclosures are neutral, consistent, and clear. We did not propose any audit adjustments during our audit, and to my best knowledge, the city did not consult with other accountants for accounting and auditing matters during our audit process. Our discussions with management during the audit were not conditioned to our attention, and we encountered no significant audit difficulties during the audit. Finally, we did not detect any fraud or abuse issues involving city's employees or management. This concludes my brief presentation. I'm now for any questions you may have.
Questions?
I just have one question for Director Moreno. In the staff report, there's a couple of bullet point highlights, and, one is at the end of the fiscal year, there's a lot more money there than we projected, and the revenues were a lot higher. Can you turn back the clock and explain why, what funds had the biggest growth there and why?
Definitely. So when you're looking in the report, it's a little misconstruing in how it's structured, because when you say the general fund from the audit report, its perspective, and the conversations we have from general fund, the consolidation within the report are built up of multiple reports. So when we say general fund in the audit financial statements, we're talking about ARPA, we're talking about Measure A, and we all know that those revenue streams were all coming within those period of times. So when you see the vast increase of those reserves, of those balances, it's because, one, we're saving up for the reserves as far as Measure A in the roads program and how that's being utilized. ARPA started being utilized and things of that nature. So it's a combination of funds, not just one singular fund itself. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Okay. I will. Was there, he said there was other, that was the beginning of the end of one of his presentations. He acted like there was another presentation. No?
No,
Okay.
that was a completion.
Misunderstood. All right. Let's open it to the public then. Anyone wishing to speak regarding this item? Okay, closing public comment and bringing it back.
Move to approve 10B, because I'm pretty sure that guy said that guy was doing a good job.
Translation, please. We have a motion and a second. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Abram? Yes. Councilmember Bixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moniz?
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes.
Thank you.
5-0. Thank you, sir. And thank you, Director. All right. Believe it is time for the road doctor.
Bring him on.
Did you see one of those is Fifth Street?
Yes, I did. Very happy.
Yes, the,
One of my constituents is it, but I am.
Temples. Mr. Pezej, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. It's way past my bedtime.
Uh-oh.
Let's see if I remember anything. The item before you is for the approval of 4 new design task orders for the rehabilitation of a number of streets totaling, the top is getting cut off a little bit. Hopefully you can see most of the information at the very top. For a total of 11.5 miles. The first task order is for Mark Thomas, one of our design consultants, and it is primarily for the rehabilitation, which is reconstruction of Dells Lane, Seaborg, and the 4 cul-de-sacs off Dells Lane. These are the list of the streets. All of this information is in your packet. The next 2 task orders are for Provo and Pritchard, our second consultant. The first task order for them, task order number 3, all of those projects are in District 3. And the other task order, all of the projects are in District 2. If we look at the first task order for Provo and Pritchard, number 3, the primary focus is reconstruction of North Olive. If we go to the northern part, north of Monte Vista, you see it's nicely color-coded. Blue is Fosberg, that was reconstructed a year and a half ago. Purple basically is the reconstruction of North Olive. Orange color is basically grind and overlay of those streets. South of Monte Vista, we have the continuation of reconstruction of North Olive all the way to Minnesota, plus Ashland Court. In this area, I'm looking at additional streets, and hopefully in the near future, I'll be able to come back to the council with a request to amend this task order with additional streets. Now, one thing that I want to do here, going back to this area, you see a lot of streets that are not marked. Some of them are in assessment districts. The rest, I will come back if you allow me to present an update on the roads program. I will show you that those streets will go under slurry seal, basically. We have those plans for those areas. Like I said, there are additional streets that I'm looking at, so this area is also going to be taken care of more than what you see here. List of the streets, again, those are in your agenda packet. The next task order for Provo and Pritchard is number 4, and as you can see, it's again the same color coding, the reconstruction of Linwood and 5th Streets, and the grind and overlay of 3 streets. Again, lots of areas that you see here, streets are not marked. When I come back, hopefully, I will show you that some of them are in assessment district, the rest of them are going to be crack sealed and slurried. So all of this area in a couple of years is going to look totally different. List of streets are here. And the last task order is for Siegfried, our 3rd consultant. The good part of this is reconstruction of Broadway. This is the other half of their projects, reconstruction of Alpha, Rose, and Minaret. List of streets, which you already have in your packet. And these are the proposed task orders. This is where the money is going. The construction cost is ranging between $33 and $40 million through 2028 construction. So before you, we have 4 resolutions, one for each of the task orders, plus a resolution to appropriate additional funds to make sure that we have the funding necessary through the end of this fiscal year. With that, I'm ready to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Pezej?
2 questions. Number 1, you always come with such beautiful maps. Is there a way that from your office to the website to the communication team to have a map that has all the overlays that shows what we've done, where everything is in the pipeline? Because people, I mean, our website has some of this stuff, but it's not, it's
Oh,
buried.
website. I got you.
Website, yeah, because I think the public really, they care about the street they live on, the streets they drive on to go to work and to all these things. So if we can give them some hope that like it's coming and not have it buried in the formats that we're presenting it, I would really appreciate that. Is that possible?
Absolutely. So if you will have me, I will have all those maps updated, and all of those maps will be on the website. We are a little behind on maintaining the website. We are more focused on making sure that the
We're
work
gonna
is
get a
getting
new one
done.
anyway.
It's, yes, yes. But I'm updating the maps, and you will see absolutely beautiful maps. The whole idea is to show where we were. Actually, when you look at it, how do I get to the beginning? I will start with this. This is where we were 2 years ago. Then you will see the progression. And then every layer will show you how much we have managed to accomplish, how much is under design, and where you can see our city in about 2-3 years. So by the time we get to 2028, just about 50 miles of roadway will have been taken care of.
I would gladly hear that presentation, so I hope you can bring that.
Absolutely.
But not at the sacrifice of all the planning of the roads, but, you know,
No,
in conjunction.
no, it's being worked on.
Right, yeah. And then I guess I lied, I have another question. Mr. Director Moreno, all the funding for this right now are we using the bond revenue yet?
Great question. So the bond funding is really going to be earmarked more for construction. What we're shifting now is you're going to see the planning and design and construction management shift to Measure L and to Measure A to take on those tasks so they can start to build the reserves back up, where the construction dollars can come forward and start to take on the construction. It comes back to the presentation as far as how we use the money and being transparent on where it all goes. It fixed this street, this street, this street, instead of professional services. It really gives us a little better picture of how those dollars are spent. There's also timelines in which we need to spend those dollars. So you saw quite a few task orders as far as what those dollars are going to be generated for construction. We'll be looking for those projects and setting up that structure and how it all comes together to spend those dollars appropriately and make sure we can capture the interest that we're capturing too as well.
Any other questions? All right, let's open it to the public. No?
First, I have a handout here for the council. This is all possible, Milt Treeweiler, this is all possible because of something that actually occurred in 2020. And the handout will show you the flyers that myself and my helper, she did the printing, she got it ready for me, and I delivered 3,000 or 4,000 of these around the city of Turlock. And the money in the projects that we have on the agenda tonight are being paid for Measure A. And I kept a couple copies for you two gentlemen also, because you were not here when Measure A was here in 2020. You don't really get the history of what's going on. But I actually pulled up one of my talks. It's a talk that I gave on October 13th, 2020. This is before the election that got us Measure A. In many years that I've attended the council meetings, I have learned a lot about our city finances. We had a great opportunity here in Turlock at this election time. In a report the state published last year, it showed that almost all cities in California were in financial distress. In Turlock, we can be ahead of all the nearby cities in the Central Valley by voting yes on Measure A. This will give us a head start to make sure that we remain financially solvent. This will solve our problems for the revenue we need to keep our city out of bankruptcy. There was a big issue back then. I will guarantee you Measure A will not burden anyone in our city. Yes, you will contribute 3/4 cent, but there will be 1,200 people or more who come to our city every day. They come to our towns, they come from our surrounding towns, from the city of Ceres, Merced, and Modesto. Remember, all this revenue will stay right here in Turlock. We're getting it all. In an economic report the city commissioned in 2017, it found that we drew shoppers from an area of several $1 billion in value. It would be really shameful if we passed up this opportunity. This sales tax will allow us to collect revenue from all of these people outside of our city. Most of these people come to Turlock because of our great stores and fine restaurants. There's no other way we can obtain this additional revenue for our city. A sales tax is an equitable form of tax, the most equitable form of tax there is. It is not a burden on people with low incomes or people with fixed incomes. It's not a burden on people with high incomes. This is a great opportunity we don't want to pass up. Vote yes on Turlock, vote yes for Turlock, vote yes for Measure A. That's why I put all this effort into getting this passed, because I knew we needed it, and we now have it, and now we're using it. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Previously, did I hear that these engineering fees are going to be paid out of Measure L funds? Is that what I heard?
Continue.
Anybody?
We're going to answer after you're finished with your questions. We close the, what else?
Is the public going to be invited to any open forums for input on some of these road reconstructions? You got Berkeley, Colorado. The one I'm most interested in is Dells Lane, the reconstruction on it. I think there's 4 stop signs on that road, which is less than a half-mile long, and it runs into a headwind, and it has bicycle lanes that are part of the master bicycle lane program in Turlock. And if you are going north in the afternoon, you are having to stop 4 times for those stop signs. And I don't know if anybody here rides bicycles, but it's the worst part about them is having to get going again. And if you could redesign that thing to have traffic circles, so the bikes wouldn't have to stop, and neither would the cars, you'd be cleaning up the air because cars wouldn't be stopping. And people would probably be more likely to start using their bicycles on that. Thank you.
Anyone else?
So I think what I'm hearing is like we need to prioritize the projects that are being done, and there are routes that I'm a little bit concerned about, especially because they are emergency services routes, and those projects were not prioritized. If there's something different, I would be curious to that. But from what I've seen, the projects prioritization list, we need to prioritize the emergency services routes going to and from the hospital, because those do fall, and I think it would probably help out our emergency services team, law enforcement, police department, fire, and anybody else. And also we have our elementary schools right there, so I think we definitely need to put prioritization on that, so thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll close public comment. So, let me see, paid out of Measure L, any?
The item before you is solely paid out of Measure A. The reference to Measure L is really giving a general description of how projects can be funding going into the future. It goes back to the question about the debt structure, right? It was more of a reminder in the sense of the way that we're using multiple funding sources to do things. Measure A is a great component, but it is not our only component.
Thank you. Mr. Pazesh, do you want to tell them about Dells Lane?
Dells Lane, yes, if you want to remove the stop signs, you definitely need to have a traffic study. This is not part of the scope at this point.
But we will be doing Dells Lane?
Yes, we're doing Dells Lane.
It's on
Yes,
the list right here?
Absolutely.
Okay, good, good.
So-
And then, as far as how you choose to do them, not the electeds, you're prioritizing in a different fashion?
Based on the condition of the road, rideability, some roads are in poor condition, but the ride quality is pretty good. I look at schools, I look at hospitals, I look at emergency services. For example, if you look at Broadway, police station is right there. If you look at Olive from Minnesota to Christopherson, that serves the hospital and the emergency ambulance service in those areas. So, but that is not the sole purpose of the roads program. It is improving the condition of the road. So it doesn't start with the emergency services or schools or churches. It starts with the condition of the road. And if several streets are in the same or similar condition, the decision will tilt towards emergency services, hospitals, churches, schools, and so on.
All right, and Wayside was one of the emergency service ones that
Yes,
they started
absolutely.
with before you got started, really, huh?
Yes, yes.
I think the term, maybe we can refresh, is PCI, right?
Correct.
And every road has been, in town, has a number.
Correct.
And
So
some of
that's-
those numbers
that's-
are super low on the
Yeah.
list. So I encourage
Yes.
everybody to go look at them. And when you think a road is terrible, it probably has a 0.
Well, at least a 1, right? All right, what's the will of council?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have motion and a second to approve. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Abram?
Yes.
Councilmember Pixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moniz?
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr.
you.
Pezaj. Thank you, Director Moreno. Off we go to city manager updates. Nothing? All written?
Nothing to say tonight other than it's already been written.
Okay, wonderful. Already been written. It's in here. Council member comments, announcements, and future items. Councilmember.
Yes, I just wanted to bring to the public forum that the Turlock Chamber of Commerce has a new executive director, a full-time person, Allie Jeffrey. And in talking with her, you know, she brings a lot of energy and a lot of ideas of really how to kind of revamp what the chamber is doing. So I look forward to how the city can collaborate with them because we all have a shared interest in economic development and the vitality of Turlock. And also congratulations to the fire department for the new long-awaited engines, right? Engines is the proper term?
Hottest
Okay,
day ever.
yeah. Sorry I couldn't be there, but excited to see that to action.
Love the pretty red trucks.
They are pretty.
I don't know where the chief went, but I owe him a thank you along with Captain Rodriguez and the crime prevention team and neighborhood services and code enforcement and even Director Fisher. I heard you loaned a person to cleaning up my park and I got my park back last week. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. And all the hard work and the volunteers and even the police explorers came out. So please pass on our many thanks. We're grateful and so is my neighborhood surrounding Columbia Park. I also want to say thank you. They already left, but we care. You know, Corey works very hard. I saw Miss Maris here tonight. Those ladies' hearts are in the right place, and I'm very thankful to them that they did not bring this to the council at the last minute, because I would have been a no vote the way this was written, like I said earlier. But I really appreciate that and giving us the time to clean this up so that they can get what they need.
Anything? All right, I would like for Chief Hedden and Director Fisher to work towards a goal of fuses in every single one of our parks. I think that our parks are the most vulnerable, and it would be very beneficial for us to try and do that. So hopefully you can bring back something at some point. He's not here, so I'm staring at you. I apologize. And then I think Mr. Pasesh left, but it probably falls on you too, Director Fisher. The senior center, if maybe we can try and resurface that and get the door looked at for something that they don't ask for much there. So hopefully we can look at that. And then we have closed session.
Yes, we have 13A, Conference with Real Property Negotiators, California Government Code 549568. Property is 132 South Broadway, Turlock, EPN 0430450118. Agency negotiator, City Manager Regan Wilson. Negotiating parties is Pierce Timothy and Donna Pierce Family 2021 Trust under negotiations of price and terms of payment of the purchase of the property. B, Conference with Legal Counsel, anticipated litigation, California Government Code 549569D2, potential cases 2, and C, public employee appointment, California Government Code 54957B1, title interim, city manager, discussion only.
Thank you. We will report out should there be anything. Thank you. There's nothing to report out, so we will see you on April 8th.